Good morning. You're in the loop. Every week we talk with the people who make San Antonio a better place to live. Thanks for joining us in the loop. Here's your host, Milton Glick.
And welcome to In the Loop. I'm Milton Glick, and that's exactly what we do. We get you caught up with the people, the organizations that are making San Antonio a better place to live. Oh, we've got a guest here who's so excited. This is great. We're going to talk to Rebecca Helterbrand. She is the I'm sorry. I got it right. Yay. She is the president and CEO of Respite of San Antonio. And she and I were talking before the interview, and she's got some great news, and especially for their mission. So the question is, Rebecca, where do you want to start? Do you want to tell the mission, set the stage that way, or you want to just kind of do a quick push for what it is, and then we'll go back to that?
Yeah, I always love starting with the mission to protect, love, nurture, and create developmental opportunities for children with special needs and complex medical conditions while we support the family so that they can be strengthened in the process.
Yeah.
Been doing this work for nearly 40 years as a nonprofit, and we have some exciting news. One of our programs is set to double in size. And here's what I love about this program, Milton. It really helps families that are incredibly vulnerable and may not be able to afford full-time childcare, and provides day out, night out, or weekend out services that you can mix and match. And we can enroll families that are vulnerable and provide that program at no cost.
That is very exciting. Okay, so who participates in your program? Because I know we're going to keep teasing, because I know people are going, what? I want to know what the new program is. But who participates in your program?
It's really families that have at least one child that has special needs or complex medical needs, and we serve their neurotypical siblings. Our goal is to provide respite, which is relief from the stressors of caregiving, and to make those families as strong as possible while we nurture those little ones into their full developmental abilities and provide stress relief for the parents and guardians.
And that's important because?
It's important because if we want to get serious in this community about child abuse and neglect, we are going to focus first on these vulnerable families, because our littles are nearly 4 times more likely to end up being the victim of abuse and neglect. And it makes total sense, Milton, because, I'm a parent who's now an empty nester, but I remember those early years and how tough they are. It's the most important job of your life is to parent a little one. But if you add in the complexity of managing a healthcare system, managing a child that has additional needs that are sometimes very hard to navigate, and other children, it just becomes an almost insurmountable experience, which is why wrapping our arms around these families as a community can make a substantial difference in our child abuse and neglect numbers.
Well, in fact, November is National Family Caregiver Month.
It is. It's an opportunity for us to realize that all phases of our lives, while we focus on children, the truth is we're caregivers at all stages and ages of our lives. Sometimes we're sandwiched with aging parents and littles. Sometimes it's other situations in our lives. But we're called to serve as a people. And when we are serving people, we've got to make sure that we as the adults are whole people and take care of ourselves so that whole people can heal people.
So let's talk a little bit. Oh, first off, where do folks get more information about Respite Care of San Antonio?
Yes, I want folks to go and visit respitecaresa.org as one option. You can also call during business hours at 210-737-1212. You can also explore on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, where we post regularly and you can learn more about our services.
And you get to give the phone number out twice.
210-737-1212.
All right, so let's talk about this new exciting news. So we talked about who would have been normally, how did the program come about, and then we'll talk about what happened to get you there. So the program is, again...
The program is called Community Respite. So serving our community with a variety of relief or respite programs. And it's origins are so important to me personally and professionally. Marie Smith is one of our founders, and she and the McAllister family nearly 40 years ago would trade houses. One weekend, Marie would take in the McAllister children, then McAllister family would take in Marie's children, and they were really the origin of Mother's Day Out, Parents' Night Out, Family Day Out, which we continue to this day. Now, this program's been operating continuously, but we received a couple of grants from Health and Human Services that allows us to enroll families that may be struggling and get these kiddos into a high-quality educational experience while we wrap resources around the parents to make sure that we strengthen that family as much as possible. So families can mix and match whatever services and days and times make the most sense for them. For example, at our HEB house in our Village of Homes in Monte Vista, where Respite Care has its headquarters, we offer a day out on Mondays and Wednesdays and Saturdays, and Parents' Night Out on Friday night. But we've partnered with Any Baby Can, which creates a central location for us on Howard Street. And that location has opportunities on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But it doesn't end there because we partnered with an organization called CRIT, also known as Children's Rehabilitation Institute Telethon. It's over in the Northeast on the Morgan's Wonderland area. And that program is Friday, Monday, and we're also testing out a Saturday. So chances are if you're listening right now and you know of a little with special needs or complex medical needs and their siblings, you should be reaching out to us because chances are we have a day, a night, or a weekend available near you.
Yeah, that really is exciting. In fact, I got my cheat sheet in front of me. Do I recall correctly that this will reach twice as many people, these grants, this program with the expansion, twice as many people as you reach now?
Yeah, we serve nearly 200 unique individuals in this program today, and we're slated to double that program. So if you're listening, we're open, we're available, we will help you through the enrollment process, and then you can mix and match days, nights, and weekends that make the most sense for you and your family.
Yeah, that really very, very exciting. And then they would just call the number, the 210-737-1212?
They can call the number. They can visit the website and start downloading the enrollment package. Now, I want to caution your listeners.
Okay.
When you download that enrollment packet, it's going to feel slightly intimidating because we are working with kids that have special needs and complex medical needs. So we often need to know a lot about their medical history. But here's the bonus I'm going to offer to your listeners. That medical enrollment piece of our enrollment package, if you are feeling intimidated by that, we have Family Support Services team that will walk you through that journey step by step, either in person or on the phone. And let's say that you're listening and you're thinking, gosh, I can't afford to go to the doctor to get this medical portion filled out. Respite Care is known for having, for over 20 years, an on-site medical clinic, and our nursing team will be available to help you with that as well.
That's absolutely incredible. I mean, you are really working very hard to take out those little speed bumps that keep people from doing what they know they need to do. They know they need help. In fact, we talked about November and Caregiver Month, but what are some of the statistics on caregivers? So for those of us who don't know, who aren't on the front lines like you are, what are the people that are doing the caregiving going through?
So, we often hear about the mental health crisis in our communities. Well, take that crisis and add a 20% ratio of our caregivers experiencing depression, anxiety, all the things that go along with mental health issues. So when we think generally that mental health is a crisis in our community, I want you to think of caregiving as an even more deep crisis in our community. They have a 20% factor of becoming more depressed or filled with anxiety or needing support. Because as we well know, when you pour so much into a little one and you're working with a fragmented healthcare system, the stress just goes through the roof. And so we work really hard to make sure those kiddos are well cared for and have access to our nursing team while we relieve the stress for the caregiver, because we want that caregiver to be at their best. And I know your listeners right now, they want to be a great parent or a guardian or a support to the littles in their lives. We can be your support team for that.
I have a weird question. So, For those who are listening, that are the parents, that are the caregivers, we've talked about maybe what stops them a little bit, and we can get into that a little bit too. But I may have someone at work that I know is going through a tough time, and I suspect this is why, because they're in that caregiver role, and so it's just hectic and nuts for them. Or maybe it's at church, or something like that. Now that I'm listening and I know about this, what do you suggest I do? What is a nice way to say I may have a way to help you?
You know, I think it's so important for us as a humankind, as a people, to just be our authentic, kind selves. The more that we approach people with an open heart and an open mind, with compassion, the more that the other person across from us is going to receive that and see that. And they may have barriers and walls built up from years of frustration or, failed opportunities, but I encourage us all to approach each other with kindness and authenticity, and just really embrace the human experience about helping one another. I think we are called to serve as a people, and when you give kindness to others, it actually helps your own mental health. Mm-hmm. So if we want to improve our own mental health as a community, we're going to get out there and help each other. We're going to be kind. We're going to, smile at people. We're going to offer a hand up. We're going to offer to be supportive. And I would say that anyone that I'm seeing that's struggling, I would approach people and say, I heard about this great organization, Respite Care, and they do incredible work. And I immediately thought of you because, you've got so much going on, and I care about what's happening in your life. And I just want you to know that I heard about it and it's free.
Yeah.
So can I help connect you?
And then you would just give them the number?
The number, the website, or even, you can email us as well. There's so many ways to reach out nowadays, and we are at the ready to be supportive, including guiding someone with our family support team.
Yeah, I am guessing, and you can confirm this or not, but I'm guessing that for someone who doesn't maybe, or is maybe, like you say, a little guarded and stuff, or maybe a little bit jaded now because of other things that have happened, that first call is probably the toughest step that they'll take, because once they get somebody who understands what they're going through, it just gets easier because they've got somebody that can help them.
Absolutely. And, our mission is to serve. And I think it's so important that part of our mission statement says building trust. Mm-hmm. We know innately that our families, one of our other programs is a developmental childcare center, open 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, accepts a subsidy. We provide everything that family could need. But we encounter so many parents who walk in and say, I'm going to enroll my kid, but they've been kicked out of 6 centers, and I'm sure you'll be the 7th. Mm-hmm. And we look at them and their child, and we tell them, we got this. We're going to do this. There's so many kiddos that, were kicked out of other centers, but they come to Respite Care. And our team knows how to work with kids with special needs and complex medical conditions. We are designed to create an inclusive, whole experience to get littles ready for kindergarten. Our kids are successful. And so when our families experience that, we're able to overcome those barriers and walls that have been put up by, society's moments of rejection.
Yeah, our guest today on In the Loop is Rebecca Helterbrand. She is the president and CEO of Respite Care of San Antonio, and we're talking about Respite Care of San Antonio. The website that Rebecca was talking about, respitecaresa.org. The phone number, 210-737-1212, 210-737-1212. What are some other programs that you guys that have there that can help our listeners or someone they know?
So we talked about the Community Respite Program, which is the day out, night out, weekend out, and even camps when school is not in session. And I briefly mentioned the Developmental Childcare Center, which is our full-time childcare center, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. We're hosting that out of a great partnership with Christ Episcopal Church, which is right next to our Village of Homes in Monte Vista. So it's a beautiful setting. The final program that I will share with your listeners is the one that you actually do not want your children in, and that is an emergency shelter for children who have been removed from their homes due to abuse or neglect. And genuinely, Milton, that as much as that program breaks our heart when the minute a child enters that program, it's taught us so much about how children end up in that system, in the foster care system. It really informs our prevention work because we've seen on a continuum of care what happens to children and families when they are removed. We are the only licensed shelter in the entire state that works with kids with complex medical needs.
In the state?
In the state.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we talked about those programs. Now, did we miss anything on the programs, or?
Well, there's an exciting program that we're working on for next year, but I got to give we can. I got to give a lot of credit that this is a collaboration. So what I'm about to share with your listeners is not a respite care program, but a community collaboration. So other states for nearly 50 years have had something called a crisis nursery. And that is an evidence-based intervention model designed to make sure that families that are tipping into crisis don't end up with their children removed. Because once your children are removed because of abuse or neglect, from a societal standpoint, so much trauma has been inflicted. There's, so much incredible things to overcome the minute a child is removed. So other states have figured out, how do we prevent that removal from happening? And so we would be launching in partnership with ChildSafe, YMCA, YWCA, Avance, a Family Service Association, SJRC Texas. I just could go on, and UT Health School of Nursing. We'd be launching a San Antonio version of a crisis nursery. And what that would entail in the summer of next year is a 24/7 hotline that we would be promoting to families that they could call at any point when they were feeling stressed. And during that hotline call, the caller would be triaged. And every family that would call that line would end up with case management to address whatever was creating that crisis. So, in the social services world, we would call that working on the social determinants of health. But really, that's just a fancy way of saying getting to the root cause of why you've got a crisis happening. But if the family triages from yellow to red status, there are some interventions that would be made available. One intervention is emergency drop-in childcare. So how do we relieve the stressors of that family before that child ends up in the custody of CPS and the foster care system? So emergency drop-in childcare would be available across our community from these trusted nonprofits. Around 20 seats would be made available.
Wow.
And if the family was tipping into red status, like, from my generation, we would call that a Danger Will Robinson moment, then we would offer a voluntary residential nursery. So that would be operated out of a home that Respite Care owns in Monte Vista, and it would have a capacity of 10 cribs and toddler beds and little beds so that we could help that child and family to remain together long term, but give a short-term break on average of about 72 hours. So I'm very proud of this collaboration. It's not just Respite Care. It's a whole slew of nonprofits coming together that would be applying for an RFP with the city next year and then starting to offer services next summer.
And what's so interesting to me is 72 hours is, I have to do the math, we're talking basically 3 days. Mm-hmm. That's not a long time, but I am guessing that 72 hours can change lives.
Well, the St. Louis Crisis Nursery has been operating for over 40 years, and that's the average length of stay in their nursery program. And they can report over many years 0 families entering the foster care system.
Wow.
0.
That's jaw-dropping. That's just absolutely amazing.
And they're taking 3,600 calls a year. So it's a really impressive evidence-based solution, but our group has come up with a Puro San Antonio twist by adding in emergency drop-in childcare and not just residential care. So it's a great collaboration. I can't wait to see it coming forward.
Yeah, when does it all start? Is it the beginning of the year or?
So depending on funding and the RFP that's released, there might be a soft launch July 1st and a full launch October 1st of next year.
And just out of curiosity, we're heading into the holidays. Does this become a more stressful time for these families and caregivers? And you're shaking your head.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting, we host Christmas parties for our families in our prevention program. So, Santa comes and visits our childcare center, and we invite all of our families to come because, frankly, Milton, they want that photo with Santa and that moment with Santa. But some of our families can't afford to go and visit with Santa and pay $75 for a photo in that moment. So we provide Santa at no charge, and then we receive donations. And from those donations, we make sure our families have gifts that they can give to their children. The gifts actually go to the parent, not the child. And that is purposeful because many of our parents can't afford to have gifts underneath the tree. So we're quietly providing the parent with the gift so that they can have something to give their child at Christmas. It's the little things like that that really make a difference, because if you don't have a support system and you don't have a network to help you, the idea of putting up that, tree and having nothing under it, it's just a stressful time when you're a parent trying to create childhood memories that last for a lifetime.
No, and there's so much pressure around the holidays to do stuff, so I can imagine it's very stressful as you try to figure out how can you do it. So how do people enroll in that program if they wanted to be a part of it, either as a giver or as a receiver?
So at any point, if anyone's heart is feeling like they want to support the mission of Respite Care, all the ways that we've talked about, going to the website, respitecaresa.org, calling us, reaching out on social media, those are all ways that you can get involved. And we have a very robust volunteer program. If you go to our website, we have a whole slew of ways that you can get involved in our mission. You can sign up to cook for the kids in our shelter.
Wow.
You can sign up to do beautification projects, do arts and crafts with the kids. And so that volunteer program is available year-round. But let me say that if you go to the website and you don't see something that strikes your fancy and your heart is called to serve in a different way, we have a volunteer manager that can curate a volunteer experience to your heart's desire.
Wow. Okay, so again, the number, old school is?
210-737-1212.
And the website is respitecaresa.org, and that'll get you all the stuff that we're talking about and how to get involved. Before I have, me, I have all these odd questions that pop into my head, but I want to make sure have we covered any? Is there anything else that you're like, oh, we got to talk about this?
I'm excited about everything we've already talked about.
Okay.
But get me one of those, another Milton unusual question. Let's do that.
So I am fascinated by something that's come up a number of times in this conversation, and I want you to kind of address it on behalf of not just Respite Care of San Antonio, but on the whole nonprofit world. You keep bringing up the word collaboration, and talk about that, because way back when I was in the nonprofit world, there was more of a feeling of competition. Like, we got to be careful. We can't do this. We got to stay in our lane, because if we don't, we're going to lose funding. But now that seems to, as a philosophy, has changed, and the most successful programs seem to come from cooperative collaboration rather than competitive, separation.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think in years past, there may have been a sense of competition. But the truth is, when you know what your core competency is and you deliver it with excellence, you know that you're not going to, like, for example, the children in our childcare center get a hot breakfast, a hot lunch, and snacks. I don't provide that food. I partner with the San Antonio Food Bank. That is their core competency. I don't provide, I provide diapers in all of our programs, but I do that in partnership with the Texas Diaper Bank. I don't provide the changes of clothing in the spring and the fall and the winter jacket to our amazing little ones. The Assistance League of San Antonio does. So I think really savvy leaders and organizations have determined that it's not about competition, it's about collaboration, and changing that word competition to coopetition, and saying that we are better when we align our core competencies to deliver a continuum of services that makes the most sense for our families.
Yeah, it really is interesting, and I see this now. We talk to a lot, different nonprofit every week, but you see the ones that are most successful have been the ones that say, okay, we're not living in this world by ourselves. We can do more if we bring other people on, and exactly what you said, kind of let them handle what they do best, but for the people that we serve as well. So that's great. I know that I'm surprising you with this question, but it's always fun. Is there a favorite story you like to tell about someone that you've helped with Respite Care of San Antonio that really epitomizes who you are? I'm sensing there's one.
I sure do.
Okay.
Every year there's I really compete for the story that touches my heart, but I'm going to share the story of Juju.
Okay.
Juju came to us a little over a year ago. He was 3 years old. He'd been removed from his home. And all the trauma that entails. Juju arrived and he was nonverbal, which is not unusual for some of our kiddos. But what was unusual is our caregiving team has worked with kids for so many years, and they weren't able to create a bond with him. And his cry was a little unusual. You know, we hear lots of children's joyful laughter and occasionally a spill or a fall in the cries, but his cries were sort of a mournful wailing deep from his soul. So our caregiver team collaborated with our on-site nursing team from UT Health School of Nursing, and we realized that he was likely experiencing reactive attachment disorder. So we put him into a therapeutic approach, and between the mental, physical, and loving care that was provided to him, we just started to see him blossom. And so I had come downstairs. It was back to school time, and donors had provided backpacks and new clothes and new sneakers. And I saw Juju trying on a pair of high-top sneakers, and he kind of tied his shoes and then stamped his little feet. And I heard this, "All good." And I turned around, and I looked at him and his caregiver, and I said, "All good?" And he said, "Yeah, all good." And the caregiver said he's speaking in phrases, and that's his favorite phrase right now, but he uses other phrases too. So those of you listening right now, I want you to know it's all good.
I like that. We're going to end on that. Our guest today has been Rebecca Helterbrand. She is with the Respite. She's president and CEO of Respite Care of San Antonio. What a great story to end on, Rebecca. It's respitecaresa.org or 210-737-1212. I'm Milton Glick. If you didn't get those numbers, you call me and I'll get them for you here at the station. We'll say goodbye for today, but you be sure to join us next week as we keep you in the loop.
Thanks for joining us in the Loop. We look forward to bringing you next week's show with Milton Glick.